So these are the 302 bomb shooters, and I decided to beat every single expert map on Chimps with them because why not? So this is what they looked like before 31.0. They obviously sucked, but great thing, they were buffed in 31.0. There were lots of buffs for the really big bombs, impact, and balloon crush, so this is what they look like now. Well, they still suck, and it's the same video because they will always suck. So, anyways, let's get on to beating every single expert with the 302 bomb. So the first one I did was kind of right when the update came out. It was Dark Castle, and I decided to do this not only because it was buffed, but because Geraldo had an item that buffed sharp towers, and you could actually apply these to the impacts and the really big bombs. They obviously didn't really do anything even with the buffs, and it was kind of just a Geraldo limb carry. There were lots of things that I didn't really do well here, like I did not get pecs, so I had to spend a fortune on the bombs, and I got MIB for some reason when I really knew they weren't going to do anything to DDTs, or well, the frags were. So this is kind of just experimenting. There wasn't really anything interesting here, and it was just a OP Geraldo carry. So Dark Castle was the first one, kind of just testing out. Nothing really happened here. So let's go on to the next map after that. Alright, so after I think it was like a week or two, I decided to pick it up and actually do this. So Harmonacity, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, and I don't know if I ever will, but he did a run and obviously posted on Reddit of doing this on Muddy Puddle. So I decided to kind of do pretty much the same thing, but I went on my own, and I already knew that the bombs were going to do pretty much nothing. If you get a lot of them, they do a little bit of something, but not a lot. So this was really just a primary expertise and Moab Eliminator carry with the basic support. The Moab Eliminator is really strong, so that was a carry for a lot of these, and then on other maps I did a Moab Assassin carry. The Moab Assassins are also really good. So basically, the simple thing with this is you just get primary expertise to make all of these bombs super cheap. Even though they don't really do much, you don't have to spend a lot of money, so you can get a lot of money to cheese it, and you kind of just have the cheese carry to win. If you are running Geraldo, obviously Geraldo can just cheese everything, but with Striker Jones, the Eliminator or the Assassins are going to cheese. So it cleans up pretty easily on this map because Striker Stun is OP with the single lanes, and it was generally pretty easy and also kind of fun just because Muddy Puddles is a generally fun map. But the next one is kind of where I kicked it up a little bit, and I decided to do it on Bloody Puddles, which was pretty. So prior to this run, I didn't really play Bloody Puddles at all, but for this it really did not matter because this is very similar to the Striker Black Border strategy with the Maulers. You just had to replace a lot of the Maulers with 302 bombs and have the Assassins carry, and then just like use more skill in the fact that it's challenge editor to push through the game. So I wasn't really that good with Bloody Puddles, but I got through it just because I knew the Black Border strategy for the Maulers. It's pretty simple if you know what you're doing, but just having the pecs in the middle, if you Alec buff it and buff it with Village, it can have a range far enough to buy bombs on both sides of the modular build. And then I would just, at the end, I kind of just filled everything in with more 302 bombs to make it look like they actually did something, even though they did not really do anything. So this one was pretty fun besides the early game because I still was new to Bloody Puddles, and it took me a very long time to get the early game down, and I still kind of can't do it well. But that's beyond that. The late game was pretty cool, and I was able to get quite a few 302 bombs, unlike the other maps. This one, I think just because it was the first time I was playing Bloody in a while, it was a bit harder. But if I probably redid it right now, it would not be that hard. And I got to use Striker Jones again, so that was nice. So the next one is Quad. Quad was quite interesting because I either had a choice of doing the standard, it would be the old Black Border strategy of having two sides on each, but I figured that doing primary mentorings would just eat up far too much money, and I really need pecs to clean up the ceramics. So I decided to do the strategy where I have pecs in the middle. I saw an old video on it, and I remember the strategy. So I decided to try it out. The mid game was kind of sketchy, but I ended up getting it. And round 98 was really hard. There were also some other pretty hard runs, but I ended up getting this down with not a lot of cheese, which is really nice. It definitely would have been easier if I used a few more maulers than I did, but I ended up getting through it, and I did it with a fairly good amount of really big bombs. Also, there's a police car going by behind me. I don't know if you noticed, but that might come up. So for quad, it was a lot harder than the other ones, but there would be some harder ones coming up. But I just did this cool trick. If you give AMD to a snowstorm, it will freeze the DDTs, and also I got that really interesting snipe. So that was quad. It wasn't the most fun, but it was pretty interesting. The mid game was kind of brutal. So after quad, I did Blons, and Blons is just a really easy map. So it was more about get a limb and hex, and then as many 302 bombs as possible. I was really stupid to not get Spike Storm, so I had to buy a first strike to beat 100, and that was that. There really isn't much anything interesting going on, and past that you can't really see anything interesting because it's, well, Blons. I might do challenges on Blons. They would have to be really good challenges because this map is just really easy even though it looks really hard. So the first strike on 100 is coming up, and then the next one I think is Ouch. And is it Ouch? Yeah, I think it's Ouch. And Ouch, no, it's not Ouch, it's Ravine. Okay, Ravine, this one was really easy because I used Geraldo. I did not really care about trying to do this with Striker because it would be really hard. So this was literally just filled with Geraldo cheese. It was kind of easy. If somebody wants to do this with Striker, be my guest. But I did some cool things with Chinook that I would replicate on Sanctuary. But that's about it. There's really nothing interesting to note here. It's just I hate this map, and I would use Geraldo to get over quicker. And then after this, we have Ouch, and Ouch was absolutely terrible. Apparently, I have really bad memory and forgot the order I did this in, so I looked at my recording, and Ouch is the one after Flooded. So, yeah, I don't know. I forgot which order I did this in. But Flooded was really interesting. I did this crazy mid-game where I had to use the Striker ability at the very right time to get the Stun the Ceramics and the Moabs together to get Flagship on, I think it was around 57, which is super early. And then I would Ice Bridge out and build a bunch of bombs. Round 98 and round 100 were really hard in this. Round 100 took quite a long time and was very close to not working if I hadn't stalled long enough for the level 20 ability. Well, I didn't really stall at all. If I just used it later, round 100 definitely would not be possible. It's just on the brink of being possible. And it took a lot of tries, but I ended up getting that round 100. So this one was really interesting. The snowstorm spam was kind of fun. Just doing round 100 over and over again wasn't very fun. But this definitely is a kind of strange build. I originally wanted to do Spiffy strategy, where you just Ice Bridged out from the land on the other side, but that ended up being too hard and you could not really save for Pex well there. So I did not do that. So this was the insanely close round 100. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. So now we have Ouch, the crazy one. I rated this one 7. I think it was 7 or 7.5 out of 10 difficulty. So like really, really hard. The mid game wasn't terrible. I got Pex a little bit late, around 79 Pex. So it would have been nicer to get that earlier. But even with a lot of cheese, I had a very large amount of Maulers and Assassins. This wasn't, round 98 was terrible. It took an extremely long amount of time to do it, and it needed the precise ability timing, and I had to experiment with a lot of ability timings with like Striker Jones and the concussive shell in order to get it right, and it just barely worked. So for this one, I ended up using a lot more maulers than I wanted to, and I was debating even uploading this run because there were so many maulers and assassins used. It kind of looked like it was more of a mauler and assassin run than really big bomb spam. But I ended up going with it anyways because I really did not want to play this map again. It's just a really hard map, and being able to catch all the ceramics is terrible. Unlike something like Water Flooded, the primary expertise can just shoot and it hits a bunch of ceramics. This one, the ceramics exit at 4 points, and the primary expertise can shoot and it won't even hit 3/4 of them. So that's just really annoying. The ceramic support was awful. Of course, the 302 bombs did nothing. So I was just using a limited amount of maulers and assassins. Amazing thing is round 100 wasn't hard. That was a nice surprise, but that generally was pretty hard, and it took 69 minutes to finish. So if you think that's funny, there you go. And then this is the easier one. So I did not upload a specific video for these. So if you want to see the full run for these, they don't exist, unfortunately. But I just have the N-bit Sanctuary. Again, another Geraldo cheese one. I did Geraldo on some of these maps where there literally is no space, because there really isn't a way to approach this wall with Striker. So I kind of just used Geraldo and got as many 302 bombs as possible. Same with Sanctuary. I missed out on the placement of one of them, which is sad, but it was Geraldo and a Sun Avatar carry, and I got a bunch of 302 bombs and didn't really do anything, obviously. So this was more like a 2TC with Geraldo. And then after this, I did Workshop. Now, Workshop was actually really fun because this is another one of those straight line maps where you could just use Striker stun and it gets everything. So you had the Striker, the Spines, the Mob Eliminator, and the primary expertise. That pretty much did everything. And then you have the cosmetic bomb shooters. So because this map is generally a lot easier, I was able to get a lot of bomb shooters, and it was just generally a pretty fun one. I might want to do some more runs with Striker Jones on Workshop, even if it's not with like a bomb or mortar. I think he's just really fun to spam the ability. It's pretty cool. Maybe like a Striker Jones Absolute Zero before that bug gets nerfed. But that was kind of it. That was my method to beating every single expert map on Chimps with the 302 bomb spam. My experience, it was all over the place. Sometimes it was fun, sometimes it was awful, and sometimes it was kind of boring. For example, that Infernal run was really boring, like nothing happened. It was just Sun Avatar carrying Infernal. So obviously these bombs are really bad. And when it comes to balance, there's an interesting thing that I brought up. It would be really cool if the top path bomb, excuse me, was really good with killing ceramics, because that would make it so it's nice and they all 3 tier 5 bombs go hand in hand. But unfortunately, Rohan does not really want to do that, and it's staying as is.